Well, a short while ago, I spoke to the Israeli government spokesperson, Eylon Levy, and I began by asking for his response to Foreign Secretary David Cameron's comments that Israel should stop and think before taking further action in Rafah.
After the October 7 massacre, we are proceeding with the destruction of Hamas's military machine, and that we urge civilians to get out of the way because we don't want them to be hurt.
Where should
Hamas
they
has
go?
two strategies. Well, there are areas north of Rafah where we have already cleared the areas of Hamas, and we want to see civilians going to areas where Hamas is not operating.
So are you now saying that everywhere north of Rafah is now safe and that there will not be Israeli bombardment if people move into those areas?
Unfortunately, until Gaza is no longer governed by an internationally prescribed terrorist organization that is deliberately trying to hide behind civilians, Gaza will not be safe.
So there is nowhere for people to go. I mean, that's what David Cameron said today. There is literally nowhere for them to go. And he is right in saying that, isn't he?
No, we designated, for example, the Al-Mawasi area, just to give one example, as an area in the Gaza Strip where Hamas has not already embedded itself with that vast tunnel network inside the Gaza Strip to hide behind civilians.
You say they should get out of the way, but you have also admitted in this interview there is nowhere safe for them to go because there is nowhere where you can say there will not be airstrikes.
And the international community must insist that civilians can be vacated away from areas where Hamas is trying to use them as human shields.
Are you saying
areas
they should go
where we
to
have already destroyed? No. To
then
areas in the Gaza
what do you mean by the
Strip
international
where
community should help you with this?
Look, since Israel could have gone in all guns a-blazing on October 8th, we didn't because we knew the results would be catastrophic. We gave 3 weeks warnings for civilians to be able to evacuate northern Gaza and secured humanitarian corridors for them to get out because we wanted a fair fight against Hamas without civilians in the way. We think it's horrific that UN agencies have tried to characterize Israel's actions in pursuance of its obligations under international law to protect civilians as forced displacement. Because what do these UN agencies tell Israel? You cannot attack Hamas military targets because there are civilians in the way and they might get killed, but you can't ask civilians to get out of the way because then they'll be displaced. The logical conclusion is that they are telling Israel not to attack Hamas at all.
I mean, it does appear today that you are losing international support. I mean, the British government is now taking quite a strong position. The EU Foreign Policy High Representative Joseph Borrell has said that the Americans should stop sending you weapons. There has been a Dutch court ruling stopping the sending of F-35 parts because of the risk of war crimes. And according to a report from NBC, the US President Joe Biden is now referring to your leader, Mr. Netanyahu, as an asshole.
And at the same time, the White House call out from the conversation yesterday made clear that it is still the shared goal of the United States and Israel that this war should end with the defeat of Hamas. And just a few weeks ago, the European Parliament voted that there should be a permanent ceasefire, but provided that Hamas is destroyed and the hostages are released. We still see the United States, the European Parliament, and Britain to a large extent still subscribing to Israel's war goals in response to the October 7 massacre.
You've called today for the international community's help. What help do you want in terms of where that 1.5 million people should go? Because what it sounds like you're calling for is for the international community to get Egypt to open the border and forcibly displace them.
That is not what I said. That is not Israeli government policy, and that is not what we would imply. We have placed no restrictions on the import of food, water, medicine, or shelter equipment in the Gaza Strip. In fact, we have more than double the capacity at the Israeli crossings for more to enter the Gaza Strip. We think it is horrific and deeply upsetting that Hamas has decided to build all these tunnel shafts and military assets inside and under people's homes and schools and mosques, and deliberately putting civilians in harm's way.
Just finally, I want to talk to you about the Israeli documents, the international documents that were prepared about the UNRWA staff allegations. We've now seen a document that was prepared, as we understand it, to share with international partners, which named the people that you suspected of complicity in the October 7th attacks. is there any evidence that accompanies that, which you have yet to publish? Have you passed that evidence on to the United Nations?
I can't speak specifically about any intelligence that has been shared, but I can tell you what we did expose this week. We revealed that Hamas had been running a massive server farm, the nerve center of its intelligence operations, from a bunker 20 meters underneath the UNRWA compound in Gaza. Not only that, it had
Can
been
we stick to these allegations?
electricity.
I mean, there were huge consequences as a result of your naming of people who worked for UNRWA. What the world has not seen is the accompanying evidence. I just want to know, is there accompanying evidence? Is there anything beyond those names? And have you shared it with the United Nations investigation that is going on? Because there is millions of pounds of aid that is resting on those claims and hundreds of thousands of lives dependent on it.
When we said that UNRWA, at least 13 UNRWA staff members, and that's apart from the thousands of UNRWA graduates, but the 13 UNRWA staff members were directly involved in the October 7th massacre. That was the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, do you have any evidence for that? That is my question.
Of course, because this was all collected. Because this was all collected on the basis of intelligence that has been shared with our allies. Intelligence that has been shared with our allies.
When was it shared with Britain? Because Britain claimed it didn't know.
I can't speak to the specific intelligence that has been shared with individual Western partners, but that evidence is out there. It is clear.
Is there direct evidence about those 13 names? Where is it? Have you passed it to the UN investigation or not?
We do not trust the UN investigation that is taking place.
So there is no evidence that you have placed in front of anybody investigating this?
The United Nations, which has been covering up the Hamas presence literally 20 meters underneath the UN headquarters in Gaza, cannot be trusted to conduct any sort of internal review.
Have you given the evidence
UN is part
to
of
the US or British governments?
I'm not personally aware of what material may have been passed on between our intelligence agencies.
Eylon Levy, thank you very much.